Hi, I'm Rebecca Petrus at the Dry Eye Foundation. We're a small nonprofit organization in Poulsbo, Washington. Our mission is to improve quality of life for people with dry eye disease. What is biologiceyedrops.org all about? I have a story to tell. It's about a dry eye villain or two and their villainous doings, and why their particular form of villainy has motivated us to take some unusual steps. The context of this story is the dry eye industry that makes all our dry eye stuff, because we have lots of stuff. We have drugs and drops and gels and ointments and sprays and a nasal spray now, and we have plugs and we have supplements. We have heat and squeeze devices. We have things that look like toothbrushes for our eyelids. We have goggles. We have glasses. I could go on for hours. But what we all have the most of is eye drops. Over-the-counter eye drops, prescription eye drops compounded from our own blood. So we're going to narrow that context down to the dry eye drop industry. And in this dry eye drop industry, we've discovered we have our very own rogue members of the regenerative medicine industry. And of these regenerative medicine players, one is incredibly successful in the dry eye space. A second one seems to be gearing up in a pretty big way. In our research, we came across a third one that dropped out of the running a year or two ago, possibly when they discovered that what they were doing was illegal. Funnily enough, tonight while I was doing some more research, I actually stumbled across a fourth one. So why would I characterize these particular companies as dry eye villains? It's the fact that they have taken exploitation of a desperate segment of the dry eye patient community, we know who we are, to a whole new level. I'm talking about predatory regenerative medicine businesses deliberately and cynically targeting us as the ideal market for their stuff. So what exactly are these companies doing? First of all, they're selling eye drops that allegedly contain protein extracts from placenta or amniotic fluid, which have zero clinical evidence of benefit. How are they selling eye drops with no proven clinical benefit and in defiance of the FDA rules? How? Well, because it's become acceptable to us, acceptable to some of our doctors. In our community, honestly, we are so used to the idea that most things don't work for us. So we don't expect dry eye stuff in general to work that well. So, I mean, the bar is just so low, I can barely see it down there. This makes us the perfect targets for an unusually clever and well-executed scam strategy. Because, gosh, as long as it doesn't hurt and it even might help a little, sure, we'll try it. Even our best doctors can become targets for these marketing strategies because we want them to keep finding more options for us. We need them to. We have nothing to lose but money, no place to go but up, right? And once we've tried it, if it's not hurting us and you give us a reason, we won't stop because we'll be afraid that we'll get worse. So this makes us very attractive targets for companies who have no interest whatsoever in investing in actual science to figure out what does work. Sure, they'll bottle up miscellaneous substances and sell them to you anytime. Science, not so much. We're going to have a lot to share with you in the coming weeks and months about how this thing happened, or rather how this thing is happening, because it's ongoing. But basically, it's about a rogue company, a true dry eye villain, aggressively advertising to eye care providers while deceiving them about clinical evidence and the regulatory status of their products. So what actual harm is this doing? I mean, I haven't seen any news reports about people going blind. I've heard the argument from both patients and doctors. At least it's not doing any harm, as far as we know. But there are other forms of harm being done here, real harm, and that's what motivated us to take action. It is not okay to illegally distribute costly, unstudied, unproven ophthalmic drugs that violate basic FDA rules, as you will read about here. It is not okay to distribute preservative-free eye drops that are packaged and labeled in such a way that they basically invite bacterial contamination, which you'll also read about here. We can't accept this kind of industry behavior like it's just normal and acceptable. We patients need better solutions, and we're not going to get them faster when we watch the very notions of transparency and accountability in drug development and marketing dissipate before our very eyes. The worst harm we see in this situation is a potential for breaking down trust between patient and provider. We trust our doctors. And sometimes that trust is very hard won. We went through a lot to get here. And along comes this regenerative medicine company, long on buzzwords, short on science and safety, and they worm their way deep into the eye care world, and no one calls foul. Over the long term, this threatens to drive a wedge between us and our doctors. Why are we allowing any company to do that? It is just not okay. So why this website? In the past 10 weeks, we've done a ton of research. We've had a lot of conversations, correspondence with the FDA. We've learned so much. Two things that I've come to appreciate about the FDA that I didn't know before this are, one, the extent to which they depend on us, the public, to get involved, to speak up, to tell them when we're seeing problems. That was really pretty motivating. And we've provided some tools here for you to get involved too if you want. Second thing is the vast amount of time that FDA enforcement processes are required to take. It's understandable, but it's frustrating. And we're not terribly inclined to sit on our thumbs while we're waiting, so we chose to start a little education project. And last night, my project partner and I were doing some final wordsmithing on one of our favorite pages. It's called Fiction, Fantasy, Fib, or Fact. And she came up with just the most ingeniously compact explanation of why we started this website. It's because we can educate faster than the FDA can regulate. So please, go explore, go learn. Patients, doctors, talk to each other, talk to the FDA, talk to us. Feel free to send us questions, and come back for the next episode of our story.